So you're buying a home here in Lakeland. You're probably already familiar with that nail-biting wait between making an offer and finally getting those keys. Well, a huge piece of that waiting game, it's the home appraisal. So let's break down exactly how long you should expect this really crucial step to take. So let's just get right to it. This is the question that pops into everyone's head the second they're under contract. You found the perfect house, your offer was accepted, and now the lender is ordering the appraisal. What's the actual timeline you're looking at right here in Polk County? Generally speaking, you're going to want to plan for about 7 to 14 days. Now, that number covers the whole shebang, from the moment your lender places the order all the way to that final report landing on their desk. And while things can definitely fluctuate, this is a really solid time frame to keep in your back pocket for the Lakeland market. Okay, so what is actually happening during those 1 to 2 weeks? It's not just a single event. It's more like a mini journey with a few key stops along the way. So let's walk through what that journey really looks like. It all kicks off on day one. That's when your lender officially places the appraisal order. From there, an appraiser is usually going to reach out within a day or two to get the visit scheduled. The actual on-site inspection, that often happens between days 2 and 4. After that, the appraiser gets down to business, and that final report should land with your lender somewhere inside that 7 to 14-day window. That first 48-hour window is just incredibly important. As soon as the lender hits go on that order, the clock starts for the appraiser to make contact and get that visit on the calendar. This is really the first big domino that absolutely has to fall before anything else can happen. Now, when the appraiser actually arrives at the property, they might not be there as long as you think. For a pretty standard home, they could be in and out in about 30 minutes. But of course, for a larger or maybe a more unique property, it could easily take a couple of hours while they measure everything, snap photos, and just assess the home's overall condition. And it's so important to remember this. The on-site visit is just the start of the appraiser's work. The real heavy lifting? That happens back at their office. They're digging into comparable sales, analyzing all the market data, and then putting it all together in that final, detailed report. That 3 to 10-day period is really where the magic happens, and the valuation takes shape. Of course, that 7 to 14-day timeline isn't exactly set in stone. Sometimes things just take longer. And you know what? That's okay. It's important to understand what potential roadblocks could pop up so you can manage your expectations and not stress out. In a hot market, which, let's be honest, Polk County often is, appraisers can get really backed up. That's probably the most common delay right there. Another one is the property itself. If it's unique, like a historic home or one with a really odd layout, it just takes more time. Finding good comps or comparable sales can also be a challenge if not many similar homes have sold nearby recently. And sometimes certain loan programs just have extra hoops to jump through that add to the timeline. Okay, so we've talked about what can slow things down. But here is the good news. You are not just a passive bystander in all of this. Not at all. There are absolutely concrete things you can do to help keep that appraisal timeline right on track. It really all comes down to being prepared. Your goal is to make the appraiser's job as easy as humanly possible. Have gate codes ready, make sure any pets are secured, and double-check that all the utilities are on. And here's a great tip. If you've done any recent upgrades, have a list ready for them. That can be a huge help. And maybe the most important thing of all, when that scheduler calls, be ready to answer. This is always the tricky question, isn't it? When is it okay to check on the status without feeling like you're being a nuisance? You don't want to be left in the dark, but you also have to let the professionals do their work. So let's look at some really clear guidelines. Let's make this super simple. Here are 2 rules of thumb. First, if it's been more than 14 days since the appraisal was first ordered and you've heard nothing, it is absolutely time to check in with your lender. The second trigger happens after the on-site visit. If a full week has passed since then, we're talking about 7 business days, it is perfectly reasonable to ask your lender for an update on that final report. Ultimately, knowing this timeline, it just gives you back a little sense of control during what can be a pretty stressful time. The appraisal is a huge milestone for sure, but it is just one part of a much bigger journey. So now that you're prepared for the step, the real question is, what are you going to do to get ready for everything that comes after?